All right, we are
Right.
live. Welcome, everybody. This is another
We're just gonna
episode of
wait.
Babes, Breakdowns, and Breakthroughs. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we're just
We're
waiting
waiting.
for a few people to jump on. Am I lagging with my voice with you?
I don't think so.
Okay. Opening up on my
Love
comments.
Mama Bear.
Love
Hello.
Mama Bear.
Thank you for being here. Okay.
Check.
Love Mama
Thanks
Bear
for
said we
looking
both
out.
sound good. Laura May, hello. Thank you so much for being here today. So we did pin it up in the chat. Actually, I don't know if we pinned it, but we put it in there. Today's episode, we're gonna get down and dirty into some heavy stuff regarding domestic violence, what it looks like from the inside. And today's episode is also going to have some content regarding animal cruelty. So we just want to let everybody know that we do have that trigger warning up just in case. And we will let you guys know before we play those clips.
Yeah, and what we're gonna talk about today is something that I went through. It's been about 5 years. I don't think that I've shared this story with anybody except some of my close friends, and I don't even think that I've got into details of this story with a lot of people. The reason why I'm sharing my story today is to shed light on the realities of abuse, how it happens, how it's not always obvious, how deeply it affects victims long after we leave. By educating everybody, I hope to break the cycles, empower survivors, and help people recognize the signs before it's too late. Recognize the signs of loved ones that are in these type of situations, and support them and help break these cycles and break them free from their abusers.
Mm-hmm. And also, we just want to be clear that in today's story, it's going to get heavy at times, but also this isn't a we're not asking for pity. We're not asking for anything like that. This is for education so that people know what it looks like from all angles and can truly understand, hopefully by the end of this, what people who are in domestic violence situations go through at times, the way that the isolation works, the way that the family network supports these people. We're going to try and show it to you from all angles. And so we're just really excited and really thankful for everybody in here. I see John is here. Hey, John, thank you for being here. Alice, hello. Laura May. Let's see.
And
Oh,
also
man.
some of
Yeah.
these stories were, oh, I'm sorry. Some
No,
of
go
these
ahead.
stories we're going to share, abuse is not always physical. There's so much more when you are in a physically abusive relationship. It's physical, it's mental, spiritual, it's financial. There's so many different types of abuse and how people are broken down as people, that we're going to share. And so Laura
Get
May.
into with that. Yeah, Laura May said survivors still in post-separation/litigation abuse. Man, that's hard because what a lot of people don't understand about that situation is that it's not just talking about it, right? Because when you're in litigation, you are physically and emotionally having to open yourself up to people you don't know, to judges, to prosecutors. I mean, not in every case, but even just with divorce court, you're having to go through and emotionally trudge through all that and bring it up again. And for a lot of survivors, what happens is you start to remember more because you're on the other side of it and your brain is in a safer place to process some of that stuff. So sometimes you start remembering things that you didn't remember before, and it can be a really emotional and painful process at times.
And sitting down
Yeah.
on a stand or talking to these people and they're questioning the things you're saying, and you're just sitting here like, why are you not understanding this happened? Why are you not believing me? Like, it's so hard to process when people are coming at you during like certain things. And we'll get into that too, because I had situations with the police department. We'll talk about, of how I was called a liar. I was a spiteful baby mama. I made this up, and we'll get into that too, because that's really hard to process after the type of pain and abuse that you have been through.
Yeah. Eloise, I'm so sorry I said it wrong, but I love your name. Like Eloise with an A. Eloise. Did I say that right
Eloise.
this time?
Mm-hmm.
Eloise, I love that. I'm like a super fan of unique names. I super love that.
Super love that. Mariana, I love you.
I do. Oh, Blessed is here. Awesome. Hey D, if you can
yay.
pop yeah, can you do that? We're gonna make you mod. I'm not logged into our YouTube on my phone, so I can't do that yet, but D will do that. She said you just have to click on her name and then you can give her the wrench to make her a mod, I think. Aloise. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, she said I said it right. I'm very happy right now. Okay.
I could star something. It says show, or it says delete comment, put user in timeout, ban user, and delete their comment.
Okay, Blessed.
I don't see it.
We're gonna figure this out one day.
I don't know.
Okay.
I could ask ChatGPT. We love ChatGPT.
You can do it through StreamYard. Oh.
I am in StreamYard.
Me too. Let me. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna go grab.
Should I hit invite?
Oh, did you figure it out?
Oh no.
No.
Oh, it has to be done on your phone.
Oh, from your phone. Okay. Man, we're gonna figure this out someday. We really are.
So what she can do? She can monitor the comments, or what is this?
Yeah. She can help us monitor. Oh, and she said we can't do it on StreamYard. We will help you guys set it up. Perfect. John said that he can help us. Do you have your YouTube on your phone, D, or no? It's okay.
Yeah.
We can always.
No, I got it. Hold on just a second.
Oh, you did?
We're still waiting for people to pop on before we show our first video.
Sam said he's working on it.
Okay. He got it?
No, he said he's going to work on it. All right.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready? Is that what we're doing? Are we getting into the first clip?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we're going to give you guys just a little kind of teaser in the beginning of kind of what happened and kind of the end. We're going to show you a little bit of the end result, but then we're going to jump into the beginning and kind of explain some things. So let us know if for any reason you guys cannot see this video. Sam had some technical difficulties earlier. So, oh, we got to probably, there we go.
I am going to set bond in the amount of $100,000, and these are serious cases, sir. And the information you've been providing over the jail telephone only exacerbates the situation if you are actually saying that you had to do this instead of hurting humans. I'm very concerned.
So this is about 8 months after, well, maybe a little longer, about a year after I left this relationship. Some pretty dark, I would say demonic things started happening. And when they did start happening, I knew exactly, I knew it was true, and there's all these rumors going around and people didn't know what to believe. It was everywhere. And let's play this one, and I'm just gonna kind of show you the beginning of our relationship. A little glimpse. Oh, that's me. Oh,
Is it not showing? I don't think it's showing.
Did it go? Hold on.
Oh. Sorry, guys. Give us just a second here.
There we go.
Sing it.
There's one thing that we both
Oh, we can see the video. Okay.
Okay.
Short little, we're gonna get into it. I just wanted to show, instead of, I don't know, it's hard to not look at somebody immediately as the monster that he was with the first court video. But just to see the type of love that you receive in the beginning of these type of relationships.
Yeah, it can be really, really hard. And I think that too, it's easy for people to just
So
like
what I want to
go ahead.
I just wanted to get into a little bit about the beginning of our relationship, and also talk about my son's father's background in the military and his upcoming as well. He did not have an easy life to start out with. He had a narcissistic mother. His abuser was his own mother. His stepfather, the men that was brought around, the babysitter. So that's a little bit about the type of trauma that people go through to become dark, I guess, you know?
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people wonder, like, what's it take? Because, like, you know, as somebody who would never do something so horrendous to somebody or to anything like that, you wonder sometimes, especially like even just say it's a newspaper article that you read and something horrendous has happened, and you're like, how didn't people know? How didn't they know that this guy was doing that? Because these people are charmers. They're charismatic. They know how to find broken people. They sniff you out.
They're
They find
extremely
your
intelligent.
insecurities. Yes. They're not just dummies who just, you know, live off their lady and whatever. That's not what it is. These people find people that they know that they can manipulate and take advantage of. They just have a way of sensing it.
Oh yeah, I feel like, again, I'll talk about this on probably every podcast. Energy is so huge. We're spiritual beings. We're so spiritual. We feel each other's energy. And when there's somebody that is so calculated and knows how to, and they know how to do emotions because they've wrote it out in their head versus feeling the emotion. It's intense.
It really is
I'll also talk about when you don't heal your energy from your abusers, from your trauma, from the things you've put yourself in, and you're not healing yourself, you will attract the same thing over and over. And you'll wonder, why is this still my life? Why are these people in my life? It's because we haven't sat here and done the work within ourselves,
right.
Self-reflected, and healed from these type of things. It's been 5 years and I'm still working on things from this and from everything else before this.
Right. And I even feel like in the last few days, like you and I have talked a lot because we've been planning this episode, and just being able to be there for you and support you through these moments of rewatching some of these videos, confronting people, all these things. And like I said in the beginning, it's not just like you can go back and see a message or a text thread from that person and you just read it and you're like, oh, that sucked. No, your brain takes you back to that place emotionally. Your body feels unsafe. Your mind feels unsafe. It's a lot. But the thing is through therapy and through self-reflection and self-accountability, you find ways to rewire that and to flip the script and to take your power back. And so that is another kind of, beautiful process that I've got to watch you go through and that we continue to go through every day,
Well, and setting your boundaries and knowing what your limits are and what you're willing to put up with and what you're willing to not put up with, finding the red
Right.
flags that weren't so obvious in the beginning of these type of relationships, but now you can sit there and be like, no, that's not something I'll accept. If I establish my boundaries and you try to cross my boundaries, if you try to question my boundaries, that's a done. It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Right.
You will respect my boundaries as I will respect yours. And being able to say no and not, oh, well, he said this, he did that, this is what happened to him or her, whatever.
Mhm.
Being able to put your foot down with that and knowing inside what's right, what's wrong, and not crossing that and not letting yourself cross that for any reason. There's no reason. There's
Mhm.
no reason. If you are, come healed or don't come at all.
Right, right,
Come healed or
right.
don't come at
And
all.
sometimes, sometimes healing is messy, it's ugly, it's anger, it's frustration, it's sadness, and you know what? I feel like there's really a point in all, and especially in my own recovery from the narcissist that I had around, it switches because for a long time you're mad at them, but then like once you kind of for me, once I left the situation and I got away from the energy and the control and the manipulation, I got really mad at myself. I was pissed. And two, it was hard because what do you do when the person that you can't trust the most is you? I couldn't trust my thoughts. I couldn't trust my
Intuition.
impulsive behaviors. Yeah, everything had been beaten out of me emotionally. And I didn't trust myself anymore and I had to rebuild that. And that was a really something I work on to this day.
And also, what Blessed said, it took a long time to forgive my ex husband, but it was freeing when I could. Um, I
Yeah.
have finally found forgiveness in this. I feel like it's forgiveness for myself, not for what he's done. Um, but I also still hurt for this man, even though you're going to see some pretty things, like some pretty hard things to watch. Um, how could you hurt for somebody like this? But to think of the trauma behind this, to think
Yes.
of when he was an innocent child and what he had to go through for his brain to be permanently rewired, because I do not feel like there's a lot of hope for anything and everything out there. Okay, but when they
Right.
reaches points like this, I don't believe that there's coming back from it. I don't. I don't. I
Mm-mm.
don't.
No.
And
I feel sorry, go ahead.
oh no, go.
I was okay, I was just going to say I feel like very similar to that. Like I have a child with my first husband, and he has had no contact with her since she was about 6 months old. And even before that, it was just he was in and out of the house. And he still will continually try and call me and be like, oh, I want to talk to our kid. I want to see her. You don't know her. She doesn't know you. You made that choice. And he, to this day, tries to make me feel like it's my fault and I'm alienating her when it's written out in a parenting plan. A judge signed it. All you have to do is petition to get your rights back. That's it. And instead he chooses to call and fight me every day, and that can be a really hard thing. Sorry, my brain went there before I put this comment up. Aloise said, court granted me an order of protection against emotional abuse, but her abuser doesn't see emotional abuse at all. The order is just a piece of paper. Unfortunately, we had a child together. I understand that it can be really hard because it's like you fell in love with this person and you believe them to be that person, and then they're not, and then you have this lifelong commitment with them, and it's really hard, and it's a very personal process. Everybody's process looks a little bit different. I don't love the standards that I have to hold with everything because it's nobody wants to keep their kids from somebody, but there comes a point where you have to, and I feel like we all understand that.
Yeah. Well, and there's also the aspect that she commented too. My son is completely or alienated
Yeah.
from me.
Mm.
That's an abuse right there too, like when you're going through things and they hold things over your head and they think they get you with this and that. The abusers do not see no wrong. Not, I would say narcissistic people think of themselves on a pedestal compared to everybody else, and
Mhm.
they don't see no wrong because they're higher than you. That's what they truly
Mhm.
believe. They believe that
Mhm.
you are much smaller than them, but also there's a side of them that they're the most insecure humans that walk this earth. So it's
Right.
like it's this weird, I don't know. This is also why I wanted to get into psychology, to study the
Yes.
brain and how this works, how it forms, what, because it's such a a weird thing to think about, of not being able to feel these type of feelings, not have empathy, like being a person with a lot of empathy and feels emotions on a different level, um, than a lot of people. To picture that with a narcissistic person, it's just weird. They think they're higher, but they're so insecure. They gotta prove it. They gotta show it. They gotta put on a show. They gotta do all
Right.
these radical things for everybody else. But then behind closed doors, you see who's behind the mask,
Right.
because that's
Right.
what they are. They're people, and that's our episode is behind closed
Yes.
doors, when they take off the mask, when the man takes off the
Yep.
mask.
Aloise, I would like to
All
just
right.
say, and I'm sure that you may already know this, but this was the best advice that I got when I was going through all my stuff was, document everything. Everything, anything that you can screenshot, save, that can show the abuse. Even though he may not be saying something threatening, courts understand the manipulation behind it. They understand what's behind some of those words sometimes. So when you're responding to him, just pretend like everything's being read in court. If it's not, if you can't, like, if you're having to respond to him to, for any legal purposes, just pretend like everything is
I
being
would
read in
say
court.
I would say no contact except for the kid.
Right.
No
Yes.
contact is so important when we're coming to our abusers, and you need somebody to vouch for you, because
Yes.
we're in this emotional, vulnerable state. We can't get our point across because the court and people don't want to see emotions. They want facts. They want evidence. They want to see what's real. They can't go off of emotions, because anybody can go in the courtroom and sob and show emotions and get upset and get angry. But when you can
Mm,
compose yourself and have somebody speak for you, I I wouldn't have been able to go through my court case without my attorney. And
right.
there you can go to the law library. You can find free attorneys.
They're in
But do not go with an attorney that does not have your back. I went that
no.
with the first female attorney because she was a female.
Right.
And that I found Bernie that, oh, we kind of cut out a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were cutting out there for a minute. I was trying to think. I think that Eloise said that she lived somewhere else, but I don't know if you saw this. She said, I broke down completely, was in a coma for 2 months and had to learn how to walk again. That, my dear, is what I would consider a complex trauma as well. You're also dealing with the trauma of that whole situation. And I mean, I have a best friend that had to learn how to walk again, and it is extremely mentally draining. And I will tell you that I was never more worried about her than in that moment, because she's so strong. And I just was really worried because so much of her independence had been taken, and that can just be a really hard thing to go through. So just sending you all the love and the healing vibes. And I really hope that things resolve. Keep us updated, and if there's anything or any way that we can help with that situation, just please let us know. Yeah, see, that's what she said. She's in South Africa. She said, oh, where'd it go? I don't talk with him at all. Unfortunately, courts in South Africa work a bit different. I was wondering about that because I was thinking the same thing as where you were going with that, D, about the like victims advocate or something like that. Okay.
Mhm.
So, there was one more comment that I really wanted to touch on because this is going to tie into some stuff we talk about later. Jellycat said they can fake the empathy, they lack the compassion. Yes, they do. they do, and their enablers do as well. They will say whatever they have to your face to make you feel like they feel bad. And then when you turn around, they'll say all kinds of awful, horrible things about you behind your back. And then they'll gaslight you about it and tell you that they never said any of that. They didn't do that. You know what I mean?
Everybody
And
and
unfortunately,
everybody that's around them, they plant things in their head too. They make you the imperfect person in the relationship and make you the one that's causing them trauma and you the one that's causing them drama and all of these things, and they've already planned it and you have no idea. They're telling stories to this person, and this person that aren't true, because when you do leave and you do come out with your story, you're crazy. You're
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Oh, Marina's here. Hi, Marina. We love you. We've got Mindy in here. Jelly Cats, hello. Let's see. I think if I missed anybody, I apologize. If you want to shout out and I missed you, just throw your name in the chat again and I'll say hi. Okay, Dee. So, let's talk a little bit. So, like, how specific do you want to get into like the abuse as a child, the military, that kind of stuff? That's kind of where we were at, I think.
I think that we'll get into that towards the end of like our relationship, because this is where
Okay.
I've known about certain things, but he does explain it during some of the stories I'm going to tell you guys. So, but I did just want to put that out there because also I think that hold on just a second. I am moving this around my screen really quick. I think the biggest thing to remember with knowing people's trauma and having empathy for what they went through, you kind of just take a backseat on your own pain.
Right.
And the truth behind that is their past didn't make their actions okay. And it's not your burden to carry. It's not your burden to
Right.
carry. And I think
Yeah.
that to realize that about our abusers is they might have suffered trauma, but it's not your burden to carry the trauma they're about to give you. You are not
Right.
the receivable end of their trauma. And that's what took me a long time to realize, because I held on to him so much because I did fall in love with him. I was love bombed.
Right.
That's the only man I've ever like truly been in love with,
Right.
So
I
I don't
think
know.
one
I
more
think I kind
time.
of
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, maybe do you want to? I might pull up that video one more time of him and singing in that, and then we'll get into it. Because I don't know if it played right the last time.
Are you recording me?
Sing it.
There's one thing that we both
it's short because I cut off on Snapchat when I sent it, but it was.
That's the charmer,
I'm
right?
like, that's a charmer that when I met him, he actually heroed me out of a lot of my pain and told me that he would never do these things to me and he was my protector. And within weeks, he told me that he loved me and he's never loved anybody like me. And he just knew that there was something special and I was his person. And you believe it. How like affectionate they are, everything they listen to about you, they know what you like, they know what you don't like, they know what's going to make you open up and be soft, and then you start pouring out and telling them these stories about what you've gone through and what you've lived through, and they take all these stories and they know exactly how to break you when they're ready to break you. They build you up on this pedestal and they slowly start tearing you down because you're on this high and your brain becomes addicted to this roller coaster of emotion. And I guess I want to let's get into, after pretty quickly,
Within a month.
Yeah, it was the first 2 months. I started seeing some red flags that immediately I should have, nope, I think the first thing was he had adopted a dog. And when the dog would run away from him, he would lose it. Like, kick the wall, scream at the dog. He'd grab the dog, and I'm like, stop, stop, stop. What are you doing? What are you doing? So I told him I just wasn't really sure about this because I'm seeing those flags. They're bright red. They're bright red, girl. And he ends up he's in drug court at the time, and drug court is a intense treatment program. It's a condition to be released out of prison, out of jails. And he starts going to his counselor. He actually gives this dog to his mom, and he says, I'm not in a place. And I'm like, okay, he's working on it. We're working on ourselves. I'm okay with that. We all have certain issues in life, and we need to work on them, right? And I think that things were good, and he started drinking with his stepfather. And I knew he was on supervision, and so I went to check on him at his trailer. He lived across the street from his mother, and I went into the trailer. He was passed out, and I recognized that he was talking to his ex-girlfriend. His phone, ding, 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 and I woke him up, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? And as soon as he woke up, he jumped up, he grabbed me by my hair, and he kept saying, you want to fight like a man? Let's fight. And it just happened so quickly. And I was getting kicked in the stomach. I was getting kicked in the ribs. I was getting open hand slapped. I was getting thrown on the wall like a rag doll. Like, the super strength. I couldn't believe what was happening. I didn't know what was happening. It all happened so fast. And I remember trying to run out of his trailer, and there was like a narrow hallway out to the front door to the living room. And I tried to grab the door, and I remember he just snatched me up by my hair, and he dragged me to the bedroom, and he threw me on the bed, and he started strangling me. And I saw the stars. I was passing out. I couldn't breathe. And I knew, looking into his eyes, there was nothing there. It was black. His eyes were black. It was cold. And I knew that was it. That was it for me. And I woke up to him slapping me awake. And the minute I would come up from air, he would strangle me again. And I don't know what it was, but I kicked him as hard as I could in the chest, and I started running out the door, and he started smashing my face in between the screen door and the wall. Just kept slamming it, holding me there. And I finally get out, and he closes the door and just goes back to bed. Just goes, I don't know what, but I'm pretty sure that's what he did. He just went, and it wasn't a thing.
Was he still intoxicated at the time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was. I believe so. I think he drank heavy, and he woke out of this when he's passed out being drunk. And I walked out on the porch, and his mother was sitting on the porch. And I spit up this puddle of blood from being kicked in the ribs so many times. And just crying. I didn't know what the fuck just happened, but I
Just
knew
in
I had to
shock.
get the fuck out of there, because this is not who I thought I loved. I couldn't believe that he put his hands on me. I couldn't believe it. And his mom, please don't call the cops. Please, he just got out. I'm so sorry he did this to you. I don't know what happened, but I'm just in these I just get the fuck away from me. I need to go. And I ran down the street and I got a ride. I called my friend Chet, and Chet came and grabbed me, and he saw what state I was in, and he's like, tell me where you, and I'm like, no, we're gonna make things worse. I can't. So I go back home and I don't call the police. I don't do nothing because I don't want Sean to go to jail, because at the same time I feel like it was my fault for waking him up when he's intoxicated.
Right.
So that night, about 4 a.m., Sean shows up to my house. And he's knocking on the window. He's knocking on my door. He's blowing up my phone. And I block him. I tell him to leave. And he comes back earlier that morning, about 10 a.m. And I let him in. And it was a story of, he doesn't know what happened. His mom told him something. It was PTSD from the military. He would never hurt me. And I didn't want nothing to do with him. This man just almost took my life. Get the fuck out of here. Don't talk to me ever again. So we ended. And it went to him coming to my work. He came to the parking lot of where I lived. He was everywhere I was.
When he showed up in those places, was he like love bombing you? Was it like, I love you, I miss you, I want you back? Or was it like anger? Was he angry?
Well, at first it was, he understood why I was walking away. He didn't want to, but he's like, this love is much greater than what you think, and this doesn't define our love. And, and I listened. I heard it, and then it became,
Because we understand.
I truly believe that it is PTSD. It is, he goes into almost like, not schizophrenic, but like he goes into zones where he's back there and he's fighting. And I believe that's very common in the military or soldiers, people that have fought for our country. The things that they see overseas and tours that they do, that's believable. That's believable,
Right.
but I wasn't going to stand for that. I was not going to stand for that. But a couple months, it was consistent. He loved me. He was there for me. He did anything I needed. Is your car okay? Can I change your oil? Can I do this? And I slowly started to open back up to Sean, because he was always there. It was consistent. And it started to be the love bombing again, and the deception. And he started going to counseling. He wrote a letter in his drug court about almost killing me, and how sorry he was and what he's doing to fix himself, because he loved me. And that meant so much to me, because I was already so in love with this man. I didn't know why he hurt me.
Right. You couldn't understand it.
And I think
It's hard.
I'm going to fast forward to, I'm going to give a shout out to Lane Chevek on here. That was my attorney in the courtroom after our a little over 2-year relationship. His federal PO is the only one that showed up to support Sean, because we'll get into the details of that relationship too. But she said she denied any known violence in the relationship. But he wrote this letter in drug court. So this is known in front of counselors, in front of judge, in front of peers. So she lied on the stand representing a federal courtroom, and my attorney said to her, you know, because she said, well, it was PTSD. And he said, Miss Delasera, do you have a PhD? She said, no. He said, so you can't diagnose somebody with PTSD, correct? And she said, yes. And he said, okay, so PTSD isn't getting caught for infidelity and beating your girlfriend up and almost killing her. That's not PTSD. That's being triggered because you're caught. And that spoke to me in the courtroom. I didn't even think about that. You know, I forgot why we got in a fight. I forgot what happened with that. So
he really showed up for you in every way, like when mentally it was hard for you. And I just was so proud to see, like, because I really feel like that was one of the first times that somebody kind of like, I mean, yes, you did pay the attorney. We could take it that route, but I mean, he stood on all 10 toes for you. And it wasn't just for the money, though. I remember, like, he wanted to see him locked up for what he did to you. He did. And it
he
was
believed he
just
saw all the evidence I couldn't use in court. I have recordings of him admitting to the strangulation. I have so much of it. I have all the recordings that I had from his parents, from him. They're not legal in Montana courtroom because they don't know they're being recorded. And that, to me, that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Yeah. Montana is a two-party authentication state. I would have had our beauty school shut down long before it got shut down if that was legal. I promise you. We'll do a whole episode on Jason Priest one day. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay, so after the first incident of abuse, of physical abuse, it was a few months of him love bombing you, meeting every need. So then you took him back. How did that kind of transpire?
Things were good. I remember who I loved. I remember the good times we had. I let go of that because I didn't feel like that was going to be a thing again. It didn't. So things were really good. And looking back on it, I start to see and this might sound crazy, but going back to, you know, he would start little fights with me. And then it would be, oh, I didn't say that. That was a joke. That's not how I said it. Now you're being crazy. And I didn't know what my reality was and what was it. Because I trusted this man. I loved this man.
Right.
And I didn't have trust for myself. I didn't have love for myself to be like, no, I'm standing 10 toes. I said this and you said that. I didn't have that capability. I didn't.
Nobody taught you that. From our childhood. That wasn't something that strength was not taught to us. It's something we didn't learn until way later in life.
Well, and I think of, going through some of the traumas I did even after childhood, what I put myself in, the women I was around. I was in a place where reality was this and not what's in the real world, you know?
Right.
And so I remember I got pregnant, and he convinced me that, because I already said I was a little emotional, I was agreeing with him, I was a little up and down, and he convinced me, TMI, I was on the NuvaRing, so you can take your birth control out. And he convinced me that maybe I should regulate, and he had all the care and concern for my mental health. We weren't going to do nothing. He wasn't, and I went to go get on a new birth control, and he threw a pregnancy test at me maybe 2-3 weeks after he convinced me to take my birth control out. And I know that sounds so stupid, but at the time, it just seemed like he was caring about my
Right.
depression and my ups and
Right.
downs, uh,
Right.
and I was pregnant. And how happy this man was. We're gonna do this. We're gonna crush life together. We're gonna be the best parents. And that's what I've always wanted.
Yep. And he knew
I
that.
wanted the
He
family. I
knew that.
wanted the white picket fence. I wanted a husband. I wanted my backyard barbecue best friend. I wanted all of these things. And at first I was like, holy shit. What? This is early. This is early to be pregnant with somebody's child. So
Yeah.
we went to my father's and my stepmother's house in Helena. We told them. My dad looked concerned. They were not ecstatic that I was pregnant, and I was hurt. I wanted them to be happy for me, and they weren't. You could tell. You could tell.
Yeah.
It was awkward. It was very awkward. They didn't even say nothing. So then we traveled to Great Falls because we were on a high. We were so excited. He amped me up too. Oh my God, we gotta go tell them. We went that weekend. We traveled and went and told his father. I met his father for the first time.
Oh my gosh. And it's like
Oh
looking
no, I
back
think
now,
that
you're
was
like,
the
red
second
flag,
time.
red flag.
Yeah, well, it
You're
was
like,
the
we're at
second
the
time. But
circus right now.
I had like a 10-minute conversation with his father. Like it didn't count, like we never like
Right.
bonded, sat down and talked. He didn't know who I was. And
Right.
when it was his adopted father, we told him and his stepmother, the reaction, oh, that should have been somebody tell me what's going on. Somebody tell me.
Right.
Because
Do you think though, do you really think though, even in that moment, had somebody said to you like, this isn't okay, you need to get out of this, do you think that you would have listened in that moment?
No.
No.
People told me that. People told me, not in this part of my relationship, but I loved this man, dude, and how he wanted the things I wanted. He met my needs.
Right.
He did these things for me. He was working on himself, And I remember his stepmother said something about, she said like, I said something about Sean's first Father's Day. And she's like, well, not the first. She didn't say those words, but that's what she
Right.
meant. And I looked at him and it just went silent. I didn't know what to say. It was awkward. And we got in the truck and I'm like, what did your stepmom mean by that? And so he began to tell me a story about his first wife, and that when he went overseas, she got pregnant with her now husband, and left Sean. And he didn't get his paternity test, but he knew that wasn't his kid because of the timeline that she got pregnant.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so your stepmom doesn't really doesn't
She
want to
doesn't know what
understand
she's
where you're
talking
coming
about.
from. Right,
Yeah.
right. So things were going good. I was pregnant. We were talking about moving in together. We were gonna, we went and looked at houses together, and I was on a high. This man treated me like a queen. And then I started beauty school. And there was a girl in my class, and I was talking about being pregnant, and she pipes up and she says, "Oh, you're Sean's baby mama. How do you know Sean?" And she said, "Oh, he was telling me on Snapchat." It's weird because I've talked about my classmates and he never said anything about knowing you. You know, I knew
Right.
exactly what the fuck it was. I was pissed.
Right.
And I was restarting my life. I was going to school. I was still on parole. I was pregnant. I was making my life happen for my son. There was nothing that was going to stop me in this. There's nothing.
No.
So she said, "Oh, but just as friends." And she looked down on the ground, and I stared at her probably for the rest of the hour in the classroom. She wouldn't look up at me, and I knew. Oh, I was ready to jump over that fucking table and smack the shit out of her. But I was
I'm already
pregnant.
crying.
This,
No.
I was not letting this happen, you know? So I texted Sean and I said, "You're not moving into my house. Kick rocks. Have fun with this girl." And he started blowing me up. This isn't what it takes, blah, blah, blah. And his story was that he knew her from drug court, and she showed up to the house and said that she would blow him for cash. In my house.
Did he say he did it? Did he?
He said that he just gave her the money.
Of course he did. Such
Of
a
course.
gentleman.
But I didn't buy that.
So kind of you.
I might be naive a little bit to all this shit because I was, but I didn't buy that. That was bullshit. And she said the same thing. He made her say the same thing. She ran with it too. And she kept trying to befriend me and wanting to go to lunch with me, and I wouldn't even respond to when she would talk. There was a wind that went by when she would talk. I don't fucking know her. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. I'm just trying to maintain my temper in this classroom.
Yeah.
I got a child in me. It's not happening.
Right.
And I remember I was washing my tools one day, and she comes and she's breathing down my neck. Like a disrespectful distance, okay? Like, what are you doing? I couldn't hold it back anymore. I turned around and I was like, I don't know if you can take a hit, but we're not cool. So why don't you take a few steps back and have a little bit of respect for this situation? And she said, "Oh, is that why your baby daddy cheats on you with me? Because you're a dumb bitch?" Oh, I snatched this girl up by her neck so fast. Oh, and I grabbed her by the little vest, and I grabbed her up and I'm like, "Do not fuck with me." Like, I was so mad. And I remember one of my friends was like, "D, put her down. Like, you will get expelled from the school." And I left. I went out the back, and the administrator called me and asked me what was going on. So I didn't let him move in to the new house. We broke up again. I tried to leave, and then it's sick because it's a cycle that just keeps repeating itself. And I think that when we have to realize that this is not going to change, this will always get worse. If a man doesn't have the respect for you when you're carrying his motherfucking child,
he won't
when
ever.
you just started your life over, when you're getting an education, when you're doing something right for your life, and he wants to how would you cheat with a girl that's in my beauty school and you knew she was?
And then manipulated it down to the level of having her convince me of the same story. See, that would have been sus to me from the beginning. I would be like, what? Even if, I mean, I've never done that, but even if I did, I would not admit it. I feel like I don't know. Like, what? But that just shows how deep the manipulation goes. Yeah.
Yeah. He controlled everybody around him. And we'll get into more of that too, because he did. He landed jobs paying $150K a year and not knowing nothing about that job. He knew how to convince everybody around him. He was a stand-up, charismatic, intelligent guy that had all these tools in life, and he didn't know a fucking thing. He didn't know a thing.
Yeah, I love what Laura May said. I feel like she said it really well. I didn't doubt myself to begin with, but eventually I was used to allowing him to win no matter what for an
Yeah.
easier life. And then I lost my assuredness in time. I love that. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
love that for anybody, but I love how you said that. It
Mhm.
condenses it down perfectly because it's so true. That's exactly what they do, not only to you, but the people around you and them. And
Yeah.
they break you down as much as possible. And then she also said that she'll never be the same again, and she knows it, and that's so true. We will never be the same people again. We will never have that blind trust or faith in people. But also, I look at it this way: like, I feel like there's two ways to look at every situation. Um, from the point of like a victim, and I don't mean that in any way of shaming the word. I don't mean that you're not in any way. I'm just saying you can look at it to where, like, oh, why is this happening to me? How did this happen to me? Or you can look at it as an opportunity for growth to be like, why am I allowing this to happen? What is it in me that doesn't think I deserve love? And once you can take the accountability in those places, is when you can start to heal, because you're never going to get that sorry from them. And even if you do,
And
it's not real.
and
It's to protect them.
we're not victims, we're survivors.
We are not victims, we are survivors. That's right. And yes, it is a long road to get to a healing environment, but it's so worth it. And sometimes healing looks really hard and ugly. And it feels really bad because you start this healing journey and you like are in a semi decent place, and then you start to get like all this emotional turmoil, and it can really be a lot to trudge through. But rewriting the script and taking back your power and saying, this isn't, you don't write my story. You didn't do this to me. Like, not you didn't do it as in it didn't happen, but you don't get to do this to me anymore because I have my power. I just
You
want
don't have
everyone
to.
to remember, you do not have to give that away. And just because you have given that power away to somebody doesn't mean you can't take it back. At any point, you have the ability to say, I'm done. And if that means leaving with nothing but your life, then do it. It's the best thing you'll ever do. And it sucks. And I mean, I know for both of us, like there's been periods of time, especially in that first year after leaving, where you really miss them. You start to miss them and you remember the good stuff and you remember all this. And you're like, well, maybe it wasn't that bad, but it was, and you just have to continue to remind yourself of who they
Well,
actually are and not go ahead.
I think the hardest thing about leaving too is they financially abuse you as well. And you're scared to leave. They install fear in you. There's financial burdens. They've taken over your finances. You've lost your friend group. Your friends don't want nothing to do because he has betrayed that they are not your true friends, or your friends are, I support you, but I don't report her. I respect you, but I don't respect this relationship. And they start to distance themselves. And before you know, oh, they're not true friends, they're not this, and you've lost your friends, your financial stability. There's a fear in leaving. There's so many factors in why we don't leave and why we stay in these type of relationships. But I'm telling you, you find that one person that will protect you. You call the hotline that we posted at the beginning of this video. You find your shelters when they're gone and you get the fuck out, because financially, you did it on your own before. You'll figure these things out. The healing journey is ugly and it's beautiful at the same time. It's a roller coaster of emotions. I left town. I had not a dollar to my name. He drained my bank account. He blacklisted my phone. He tried to take my car from under me. I didn't have anything but the clothes on my back, my child, and my dogs. Put them in a car
Right.
and I drove. And that was the scariest moment in my life because I knew if he found me, that was it for me or my son. So am I putting us in
He
more
instilled
danger?
that fear in you.
Oh yeah, I knew what he was capable of. I knew that he had no regard to my life at the end of our relationship. I knew that he could kill me, and he would.
Absolutely. So you had the confrontation with the girl in school. Did you confront him about that ever? Did that or
Oh yeah, we
did you
talked
just
about it.
yeah,
I laughed in his face when he tried to make it something it wasn't. I
right.
got away again, and it was just again, the cycle just repeated itself. It was the same
Mm.
thing. And when you're pregnant and emotional, and this is the father of your child, and he reminds you of all the good. And this is also what I want to make a point on too, is bad people do good things.
Yes.
And we lose sight of that. Oh, well, he did this. Look how he did this to me. He was here for me this. Bad
Doesn't
people
matter.
aren't always bad. They may do good things with ill intent, but you don't know the ill intent. You don't know what's behind that mind frame until you're out of it, you
Right.
know?
I think I think another big red flag that stands out to me that I relate with is even how he convinced that girl to tell the same story because it's like that manipulation that surrounds it and how they it doesn't just affect the people like it's not just you that they're manipulating, it's the people around you too, which makes the gaslighting even worse because now you don't just have this guy telling you that you're wrong, you have 3 other people you don't even know well enough to call out telling you that that's the truth too, you know? And so it's like it gets so deep. Yeah.
And what Rachel said, I don't hate my abuser, I hurt for him. I hate when he what he put me through and for now feeling the hate for myself for allowing it and it makes sense. Well, babes, you can't I know it's hard to say don't hate yourself because I was in that stage too. And Rachel, yours is fresh. Yours is fresh. And I really do hope that you sit back and take time for yourself. Don't allow people to jump in your life and cause chaos because once you find your peace in your life and you find yourself again and you can look in a mirror and know your self-worth and know who the fuck you are again, you're bad bitches, okay? We let nobody come in our life, whether that's friends, whether that's family, whether that's a romantic partner, cause chaos in our life because this is our life to live and we're going to take our life back and make it beautiful again. And we're going to provide other women with this type of information to make their life beautiful and other men. I'm sorry. I'm very it's men and women that go through this.
Yes,
But
men and women.
we can't
Yeah,
allow this anymore. We need
right.
to watch for our the people that are surrounded by us,
Yes.
educate the people that don't know what abuse looks like and doesn't believe that this is happening. And we need to take our power back and create something beautiful because I know damn well ain't nobody coming in my life and causing chaos anymore. My son has a
Right,
peaceful life and he will never remember what type of chaos he went through because he was so
right,
little. I never let the storm rain on my son. And
right,
I'm grateful that I got out when I did because some people don't have those type of opportunities that I did. I
right.
had people that housed me and protected me and were there for me. I slept under a window for 2 weeks because I thought he was going to come shoot me, my son. He made threats. He stalked me. It was scary, especially when your abuser doesn't get arrested for the things that he has done to you.
Yep. So Jellycat
It's
said I had a
intense when you
therapist.
leave. The emotion.
Yeah. Jellycat said I had a therapist tell me if they were bad every day, it would be easier to leave. Exactly. And that's what people don't understand. They only hear because this is the thing. A lot of times someone's not going to come to you the first time they get abused, especially physically because there's always an excuse for that. It's easy to the PTSD, the whatever. Everybody has a different excuse in that. Um the
You
second or
triggered
third or
me.
fourth time they don't typically tell you about abuse until I think it's happened 7 times. Isn't that the statistic, I think, for when it's reported? But so people be like,
Or you
"Oh,
don't
they
try
don't
to
tell
leave.
you until their life has almost been taken from them." And And then you're like, well, if it's that bad, why'd you stay? You know, well, for a lot of reasons, because they lied, they manipulated, they took away. I allowed them to take away my self-worth, my understanding, my judgment, everything. And for me and Dee, it took us having our kids to start
And I didn't know
advocating
how
for
to
ourselves.
explain that to people until
No.
I started healing and seeing what it was for what it was. When people would say that to me, I'm like, well, I don't fucking know. You know, like it's hard to accept that that was your reality and what happened to your brain. Trauma,
Right.
the roller coaster, like your brain rewires after so
It-
much trauma. And to realize this isn't fucking normal when your relationship has been this good, and we only have these little incidents. We only have
Right.
this little bit, you know.
Or the better than mentality, you know. We'll get into that too. And two, I just want to say, you know, Laura May, I've seen you in the chat talking about, you know, the one comment that really stood out to me was I'm not sorry, or it's not a sorry for what he's done to me, it's what he did to our baby. I do want to touch on that comment, and we're going to get into that just a little bit further down in the story, but I just didn't want you to think that I wasn't seeing that. We weren't seeing that. But we do have some things to say about that as well. So the cheating is happening in the beauty school. There's some confrontation about it, but it seems like maybe you just kind of let it go, kind of like she said, to live a better life. It was like just easier to let it go than it was to continue fighting it. And then at what point did you guys
Yeah, why would I
how
stay
did the
with this
counseling?
man?
Right. When did counseling come into the picture?
Counseling had already started. But
Oh, okay.
he was going back and forth with things. Things started to be good, so it wasn't so much of us. It was him focusing on his drug court. And then I moved into my house alone. I was gonna do it without him. I'm not gonna have some man that's cheating on me and hurting me and beating me. Like, I'm just not. And how many times I tried to leave. I think that's the statistic you were talking about. I think you leave or you try to leave at least 7 times before you actually leave. And that's the minimum. That's the minimum, I believe, in statistically with these type of relationships and these type of people. Because you'll never understand the manipulation and the things behind it until you've been through it. But have an understanding for the people that have been through it, because it's a lot deeper than what we could ever explain.
Bless said my ex-husband would call and
So
threaten
I
my
was
life as we were.
pregnant. I was
Oh,
emotional.
sorry. As we were going through our divorce, so glad I'm able to get out of it. And then she said that Blessed was able to leave after 3 times. That's good. I'm really proud of you. We're so proud of you. It's hard. It's a lot harder than people understand.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Dee. Go ahead.
Absolutely. No, it's okay. And I mean, the domestic violent rate is insane, because I think that we could all know a handful of women that have gone through some type of violence, mental abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse. There's so many women that have gone through this, and to be able to share our stories, and try to help people that are going through it, give the understanding to others. Um, I'm grateful to be here and be able to talk about the situation.
Right.
So,
You guys were going to
beauty
counseling.
school. I don't really know how he got me. Oh, I'm kind of lagging, I think.
You are a little bit. It's okay.
So month or two again goes by, and it's all the right things. I'm pregnant with his son, and I'll always remember the day that I allowed Sean to pick me up from school when we decided that we were going to work on things. And there's a lot of classmates that knew what happened with me and this girl. And I remember some of the barbers were like, D, come on. Come on. What are you doing again? Again? And they didn't even know about the physical violence or the mental
Right.
abuse. They just knew that he cheated on me while I was pregnant. And so we get back together and things are good for quite some time. I think it was more of the mental abuse started to begin, and I started getting broke down. I was body shamed when I was pregnant. I was this and that. My stomach was ugly. He couldn't have sex with me anymore because of this, and it just started to deplete me. I don't think I knew who I was anymore. I don't even think I had that my personality anymore. I was such a broken person during my pregnancy because I went through all these things and he wasn't physically abusing me. So it wasn't abuse in my eyes.
That better
I
than
didn't
mentality.
realize yeah, exactly. Like, well, he's not strangling me anymore. He's not this and that. We get into our fights, but fighting's normal in relationships. But the way that you fight in relationships, that is not normal. The way that he would say the things he would to me to break me down while I was pregnant, to not tell me I was beautiful, to not,
Right.
So I think that's really when it started to, after I had my son, it got worse. There was an incident when I was 7 months pregnant, and things were all right. Things were good. He hadn't put his hands on me in months. Um, and I remember I was too high strung, too anxiety. I had something to say all the time. I had an opinion all the time. My opinion didn't matter. And he almost wrecked the truck while I was in the driver or the passenger side.
Passenger.
And I'm like, well, if you get off your fucking phone while you're driving, I'm like, there's not just me in this truck anymore, Sean. We have a baby. And if we get in an accident, we could kill our child. Like, you have to think about this. And I got upset about it. I do anything to protect my child. I love this child. He was inside of me. And we know the attachment you have when you feel your baby kick. I was not going to let this happen, And he got in the left turn lane and he drove right in front of a semi truck. And he was like, shut the fuck up, bitch, or I'll fucking kill you next time. And when he crossed the lanes, all the cars were honking. He sped off and he pulled over to the side of the road and he opened my door and he turned over on his truck and just boom, started kicking me out of the truck and then left me on the side of the road 7 months pregnant. And at that point in our relationship, it was my fault. And I truly believed it. If I didn't get so upset and agitated by things and I kept my mouth shut, he wouldn't get so angry. And then they gave me the silent treatment after that. Like I did something. I was the problem. I walked home. It's a couple miles to my house. Walked all the way home. And he wasn't there. And when he did come back, it was like a typical fight where you ignore each other. He wouldn't talk to me. There's no apology. There's no nothing. It was me. I was the problem. I triggered him and I deserved that.
So there was no love bombing at that point. He was just full on blaming you.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you accept that? Like, were you like, did you start to feel internally like maybe it was your fault?
Oh, yeah.
Or were you starting to realize yet that like, no, this isn't my fault?
No, because at that point in my relationship, I was so broken down as a person. I didn't see any self-worth.
Right.
I couldn't look in the mirror anymore and appreciate who I was. My reality versus what actual reality was so different. So that's when it started to again I think that was the last time that he put his hands on me before I had my son.
Really quick, I just want to touch on Aloise said, men can also go through this. Absolutely. Me and Dee have had many conversations about this. And even, it's frustrating as a woman who I think a lot of us in the chat will understand this. When you have been through something traumatizing like this, or even just including the emotional abuse, all of that, and then you have somebody or you come across a friend or just a coworker, someone and they're like, oh, this POS does XYZ and he won't, and it's like they're complaining and being like, oh, he's such a POS. And you see it and you're like, what are you talking about? Like it makes me just as angry to see men in this situation as it does women. And two, depending, especially here in the United States, depending on what state you're in, a lot of them are more for mothers than fathers. So mothers will get way more rights before the fathers will, and they have to fight 3 times as hard for the same rights, and it's not fair. So I wanted to touch on that because, like Dee said, this isn't a cry for us, feel bad, anything like that. The point of this episode today is to bring light to these situations and for people who maybe haven't experienced it to understand how these things happen, because it's so hard to see when you're in the midst of it. And sometimes it just takes getting out. But yes, men also go through these situations, and it's not fun for anybody.
Well, and to touch on the men thing, men have been taught to swallow their emotions and not cry and not do this, and when men are in these type of situations, I feel like people make fun of it because these men have morals and they're not going to hit their woman, and they're in the same manipulation and trauma and roller coaster, and they love this person so much, but like, you're going to let this girl beat on you? That's the mentality of when men get abused.
Right.
And
How
to
are you going to let
actually
that
hear
happen? You're a
men,
guy.
absolutely. This girl's smaller than you. Well, I'm not going to put my hands on her. That's my morals. That's my values. Well, why don't you leave? Same reason women don't leave. Same reason. It's all a tactic for certain people. Women are just like this too. And there's more people than not that are narcissistic or even sociopathic or just selfish in their love, They don't care how they hurt you.
Because it's about the control at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And you don't realize that's what's happening. You think that they're doing these things because they love you, but you're so wrapped up in this sick love, you don't even know what love is anymore.
Okay, sorry. So beauty school, you took him back. People were kind of like, you knew that people knew, and you were like feeling a little insecure about that.
Well, and then we'll fast forward to when I had Rowan.
Okay.
I didn't know it till later, but when I had Rowan, Sean left the hospital room after I was done with labor to get something to eat, and he was gone for like 6 hours. And I realized later, because I found messages of the day that my son was born, that he met up with another woman. After I just gave birth to his child. And when you're discovering all of this when you're leaving and you're finding like this evidence of what they did behind your back and how they spoke about you and what they said about you and made you out to be this crazy scenario, when you think that you're in this relationship and you're going to get married, you're having this baby, and it is so hurtful. I couldn't let that go for a long time. It hurt me to my core. It made me insecure. It made me, why am I not good enough for this man? And he wants everybody else but me.
And so you found out after the fact, but when you had Rowan, what was his demeanor with you? Was he as excited as he was about the pregnancy with you? Was he still being very lovey with you, or were you guys not in a great place?
I think when people were around, Sean played a part. And I didn't understand it. He was such a good dad. When my dad showed up to the hospital room, his mom was around, his counselor, he would take the baby to his meetings. He would post pictures. Here, let me have the kid, and put these pictures on social media to infiltrate, like, or to show that this is who he was. He is a family guy, stand-up guy, good dad, all-American dad, ex-military. And behind closed doors, I could start to tell that he had no empathy or like compassion or love for Rowan. And I couldn't understand it, because the first time I held my son, I thought to myself, man, how did I walk this earth without you?
Is probably truly one of the first times that you really experienced that true unconditional love. You knew you had it for him from the beginning, from that moment on. And even in pregnancy, that's really when you started advocating for yourself in ways. And like, I feel like that's when you started to think like, okay, because I very similarly, so Dee and I met a few years before we were in beauty school, and just were different friend crowds, different groups. We didn't hang out at all, but we ran back into each other in beauty school. And we were both pregnant. Oh no, I'd had Hazley. I started school when Hazley was
I
6
was
months old,
pregnant.
and she was just getting ready to leave on maternity leave. But both of us had that experience of like, once we had our kids and were pregnant with our kids is when we started being like, okay, like this isn't acceptable. We have to do something different. We cannot put our children through the same things that we went through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And uh yeah, I think Sean proposed to me shortly after I had Rowan. And I remember thinking, oh fuck. It wasn't a good feeling when he proposed to me. And I couldn't pinpoint what I was feeling anymore. And to start seeing the lack of, because I did think, everybody's like, a baby's not going to fit.
Oh,
And
hold on.
realize like,
You froze. Sorry.
good. Okay.
Yep.
Our network's kind of lagging. But I don't know. That's when I really started to watch things and realize what was happening. And after I had my son, I had a lot of people that weren't necessarily full force in my life, but they had opinions. about what was happening, and they didn't know the extent, but they knew enough. They knew who I used to be and who I was now. My son's godmother, Twyla, after Sean proposed to me, she came over to help me with the baby. Sean didn't want to help or hold his son, and this is the same thing that my friend Candace said. My friend Candace helped me through a lot. I stayed with her for a few nights after certain incidents and abuse, and I remember Twyla, and I would always hold her opinion high. Twyla she's my son's godmother for a reason, you know?
Right.
And she supported me with whatever. And Sean left one day after taking me in the bedroom, and she grabbed Rowan when Sean lost his shit in front of somebody for probably one of the first times. Snatched me up, and I'm like, nothing's happening, nothing, it's okay, it's okay. And he's telling me in the bedroom, if I don't shut the fuck up when she leaves, it's done. And she's listening.
And by that,
she knows what.
Yeah, he didn't mean it's done like we're over.
No, it was he was going to end my life, and he was going to hurt Rowan. And Sean left angry, and Twyla looked at me, and I was trying not to cry when I came out of the room, and she was like, I will not be at your wedding. And that's when I was like, I was offended, you know? But then it sank into me. Like, I realized she said that. And she was like, Dee, you used to have this sparkle in your eye when you would talk to people. And you used to be happy and confident and loving. And you don't even know how to do that anymore. She's like, you're just this dim version of yourself. And I don't even know you anymore.
Yeah.
And that hurt. Because again, the first thing you think is it's me. Why did I let this happen? Why did I, and reality starts to sink in for you. Especially when you have a child and your abuser is taking out angers and frustrations with your infant child, Now, he never was able to, I think the first incident, Sean never really helped me. He went to work. He was a breadwinner. I was a stay-at-home mom. He had all financial control. He would transfer me money on a credit card just in my name if I ever needed to go grocery shopping, do anything. If I had appointments, he wouldn't watch the baby. It was other people's responsibilities, or I needed to find a babysitter if I wanted to do anything for myself, look good, do my hair, do my nails. And one day I was cooking dinner and Rowan was fussy, and I'm like, can you please just feed Rowan? And he was like, fine, all pissed off that I asked him to do something for his son. And I'm just like, dude, fuck you. Feed your fucking kid. And he grabbed Rowan. I handed him his bottle, and I went back to the kitchen, and he's like, see, he doesn't even like me now because it's just you, and you're the only good parent, and you're the only this, and you think that you're the best parent. I can't do anything right. And Rowan was kind of like not taking the bottle, but babies do that, bro. He didn't know what he wanted. He was just crying, like, soothe your child.
Right. Well, and they feel that energy. Kids feel that energy too. He felt that tension,
And he felt like, Rowan was not an easy baby, and there was a reason behind it. It was the energy in the house. It was how dark it was. It was mom was always crying. Mom was screaming in the next door. Not screaming, but he could hear the ruckus. He could hear the things that were happening, and then he could feel my anxiety and my energy and my sadness. And he I remember he shoved the bottle down into Rowan's face and was like, just fucking take it. And he got up and he didn't throw Rowan, but he angrily tossed Rowan on the floor. So boom. And I'm like, that's when I lost it. Don't you fucking dare do that to my child. Oh, and now it's your child? It is my child. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You will not bring your toxic and abusive traits onto my child. And that's when I knew I had to leave. That was my point of you need to figure out how to get out of this mess. He has the car in his name, the house in his name, all the credit cards, the phone bill. He has all these things on you. You are a stay-at-home mother with no financial stability. So what do? You try to get a job? That's not going to work for him. You try to do this and that. No, it's not going to work for him. He sees through that. And that's the point where it just kept getting worse and worse. And I think that it was, I left when Rowan was 5 months old. Um, there'd been a couple more incidents that just, he started drinking. I moved myself into the basement until I figured out what I was going to do. It was kind of like an out of sight, out of mind thing. Because he did what he wanted. I didn't care at that point. I lost so much love for him after I saw the way he treated my child. That love was non-existent. Fuck you. I'm angry now. How dare you? How dare you do this to my child? How dare you lack empathy for our fucking child? And Sean knew that I was trying to leave. So I think that it started becoming his place of empathy of, well, I understand why you would want this, but can it be a short break? Can we take time? Can we do this? And I fed into him to tell him what he wanted to hear, but I knew this was it. I was out of the relationship a lot longer before I left because I had to plan my shit. I had to figure what the fuck I was going to do. And then there became a time where there was no time to plan anymore. You're going to fucking die in your house or your child, or you're going to leave. There was I barricaded myself into a basement after Sean came home angry. I put tables up. I barricaded me and my son into our basement, hoping he would leave. I called my dad and my stepmother, and I told them, please don't call the cops because it just makes him angrier. And he busted down the door after he had my phone. I was calling them on my tablet. And I got quiet, and my stepmom said, is he in the room? And I just looked up at him, and then I just saw the same, like, black eyes. Like, there was no soul in
You knew
there.
what was coming.
And he took my tablet, and he hung up the phone. I had to go up the stairs. And I had Rowan in my arms. And I remember I dropped Rowan just in time at the top of the stairs. And he left Rowan screaming. And I got dragged down the stairs by my hair. And then he left because he knew the police were coming. And the cop showed up at my door. And Sean immediately got on our Ring doorbell. He's like, if you have any problems or concerns, you can call me at this number. So he made it very apparent that he was listening to what I was about to tell the police. So I kept my composure and just said that my parents were being dramatic. And we just had an argument.
Did you have any physical, like, could they tell physically that, like, when he drug you down the stairs, did it leave any marks on you that they could physically see?
Oh, I'm sure my face was flushed. But that's the thing is, Sean, when things would, he went directly to strangling me. He would rip me by my hair, and he would throw me, and he would kick me in the stomach.
All places that are hard to see.
He didn't leave bruises on my face. And the cops told me that maybe if I wasn't dramatic, bad things wouldn't happen to me. Something like that.
Did they even offer you help? Did they say, do you want out of here? Are you okay? Did they say any of that to you?
I told him that everything was okay. I did. But for somebody to be professionally trained in being the public's law enforcement, our public protect, what's the right words to say?
Right, they're protectors.
They're our protectors.
They're public servants.
Yes. When an abuser, which they didn't know us, right?
Right.
When somebody gets on like that and has that certain tone and how he spoke, that should have drawn a red flag. It should have.
Or to at least pull, because they never pulled you away from that porch. They let you talk to them. They asked you right on that porch after he had already said something on the Ring doorbell. So they knew, or at least they should have known, that he was listening. Anything that you said other than I'm okay, he was going to hear. So I think did you have that fear? Do you think that had they pulled you away from the situation, you would have said something?
I don't know, because I also know that a PFMA is a 24-hour stay in county jail.
Right.
I was in his house, our house that we bought together, but his house. I had no finances. I had no rights to my car, my phone, nothing. I didn't have a dime to my name. What was I going to do? You're going to fucking take it. And that's what he told me. And that's what he installed in me. He installed a fear, and he installed, you'll take it because I have every aspect of your life controlled. And the police left, and Sean called me, and he told me if cops ever show up at his doorstep again, there'll be 2 dead pigs and a dead bitch on the front doorstep. You think I ever called the cops again? I didn't even call the cops. You think I called anybody for help? No. I asked him not to call the cops. But thank God they did, because he left. But I was angry. Don't fucking put me in that position. But what are you supposed to do when you're far away and you fear for your daughter's life, you know?
Right. Right.
So I started planning what was going to happen. And the last major incident that had happened is I said something, I don't know, I triggered him, I set him off with something. And Rowan was in his crib, and I was walking into our bedroom, and I just remember hearing Sean running.
Like down a hallway or like towards you?
Through the living room. We got in a fight, and I just heard him get up, and he just started running towards me. And I'm like, holy fuck, go, go, go. And I had nowhere to go. I was stuck in our bedroom, you know, and I locked myself in the bathroom door. And he started punching a hole in the door. And he knocked the door off the hinges. And he started beating me with his fucking door. Slamming me with the door, where I'm in the position of I'm on the ground, trying to crawl back from taking these fucking hits from this fucking door. I'm like, I hear Rowan screaming. And I'm like, and I had my phone on me, and I called Twyla because he put me in the closet, because there's a closet in our bathroom. And he locked me in the closet with him. And he pulled out a switchblade and started pressing it on my throat. And I had Twyla on the phone. She said something on the phone. He was like, who is that? I tried to turn it down because I'm like, this, you have to come get my baby, dude. You have to come get my baby. And Sean got up and he's like, actually, I'm going to go get Rowan so he can watch his own mother bleed out.
And in that moment, you were probably just in complete fight or flight mode. You didn't know, like there were so many things.
Oh, you
running
weren't
through your
touching my
head.
baby. I'll die
Yeah.
before you ever hurt my fucking kid, dude. And I was like, I was like, why the fuck do you do this to me? I've been a good woman too. I've done everything right. I love you infinitely. Like, why are you doing this to me? At what point? And he's like, and he said, it's because that stupid fucking kid ruined your body. He said, you'll never look the same and nobody will ever want to fuck you again. And I'm like, it's not me. It's you. It's you. It's never been me. It's fucking you. And he looked at me and he said, you're right. It is, Dee. He said, the first thing that I ever felt in life was a dick in my ass. And when I was in the military, he said, I loved the military. He said, you know why, Dee? He said, because I could kill somebody with my bare hands and I could feel something. And accepting that from somebody that you love with your entire heart, with everything you have, you know? And I think it was a couple days after that, I kind of let things like de-escalate in the house. Still was in the basement. Sean left for that whole day, the whole night. And I found all these fake accounts on his phone, all this type of shit. And I was like, today's the day. When he left for work that day, I put Rowan in the car. I grabbed Rowan's clothes. I put my dogs in the car and I drove out of Billings or Laurel. I drove out of town. The threats just everything.
From every angle.
Oh yeah, from my friends to he was threatening my dad. He was gonna find me. He just bought a rifle and he was gonna come murder me and murder my son. And I believed him. I knew he would do that.
Especially after what he said to you.
Oh yeah, there is. And
Do
I
you
just
feel like
remember like even Twyla's husband, my son's godmother, he was still questioning my story. Like I was being dramatic. He was trying to talk Sean down, and Sean was telling him that, you know, he wasn't gonna listen to her. He's like, if I find out that bitch is at your house, you guys are all done. I slept under Twyla's window in case he shot into the house. I went down. I got restraining orders. The judge in Red Lodge, Montana, immediately granted me my restraining order, seeing all my evidence. And I got stalked. I later found out I was in Walmart in Billings, and he lived 15 minutes outside of town in Laurel. That's where our old house was. So there was a Walmart in Laurel. So there's no reason for him to be at the Billings Walmart at 6 o'clock in the morning.
right.
And I was shopping with Rowan. I wanted to go early, so there was no chance of me running into him. And I felt somebody like staring at me. And I looked up and Sean was standing right in front of me in Walmart. I grabbed Rowan out of the basket and I just started running for my car. And I'm like, please somebody help me. Like, please somebody help me. Like, and I just made all the noise I could so people would like look at what was happening, you know?
Yeah.
And I later
Did
found
anybody
out
come
that
help
he
you?
had, I was just running. I don't know, but I made my presence known. I
Right.
made people stare at me in the parking lot so he could not take my baby, so he could not take me, so he, you know. And I later found out that he had opened up a Subaru app. I didn't even know it came with the car, and he was tracking me with
Your
my
car.
Subaru.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
And that's how every time I switched houses, or I went to this friend's house, I went to Twyla's, I went to
How he
Candace's,
was
I went to
finding you.
Helena. He was texting everybody, and I'm like, how the fuck does he know where I'm at? I thought it was my phone. I turned off my location, all of it. Then he had a tracker on my Subaru.
Do you feel like from like let's just say from the beginning, right? From the Lovey singing in the car, Sean, that you met to this last incident before you left, do you feel like it was escalating? Do you think that, or do you think that he was always that person? I mean, I do think he was always that person. I do know that, but like, do you think that
Well, they
his
can only
behavior was escalating as in he couldn't control it anymore?
Well,
Yeah.
I feel like they trap you to the point that they can behave however the fuck they want because they have you exactly where they wanted you to. And they had this entire game plan. It's like playing chess to them.
Right.
They have their
Right.
moves and they're going to take you out and they're going to break you
Right.
down until you have no moves left.
Right. So at this point you'd packed your stuff and left, right? This was the last time you left.
I
Yeah.
never went back. I got my restraining order. I did no contact. And because of Rowan, my son saved me in that situation, full and through and through.
Right.
I was not going to
So,
let my son be this man or learn his traits or be abused by him or hurt him. I was not going to let it happen. Fuck that. Fuck that.
so sorry, I'm just trying to kind of look at our thing. If I jump into Jellycats wants to know where he is now. I'd let her know that we're getting into that here shortly.
Yeah, we did play a clip at the beginning. So there's a lot of different incidents that happened for quite some time with my new house, stalking, finding me. And eventually he sent me a picture of his new wife the day that we were supposed to get married. He sent it to my friend because I had blocked him on everything. He could not contact me about anything. I got a restraining order for Rowan as well. And we started fighting in court. And he was married. And sent one of my good friends a picture of his little wedding in the what is it called? Just like went down to the courthouse and got married with this new woman that he's met for a few months. Got married to her, and like it was gonna hurt me, and I just prayed for that girl. That's all I could do. I wasn't going to reach out to her. I wasn't going to give my location. I was not going to let him have any power anymore. There was nothing
You
you
were
could
taking
do
your power back.
to hurt me or my son anymore. I'm not letting you control me anymore.
Right.
I cried to myself. I was depressed. I didn't eat. When I put my son to bed at night, I probably drank 3-4 bottles of wine and blacked out on the floor and woke up with my son. Like
Right.
it wasn't healthy how I handled it, but I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know what I just went through. Because these stories too that I'm telling you, these are little glimpses of what had happened,
Right.
And leaving was the scariest thing I've ever done.
Right. So the control had stopped.
The judgment from the police department when I went on a standby and got my stuff, and Sean was still showing the police that he was controlling and abusive. It was apparent. He put everything that I owned in that basement. So I, by myself, he knew I had nobody to help me, drag all my stuff up all those stairs. And I feel like it was a reminder. Remember those stairs, bitch? You do.
Yeah.
You fought on those stairs. And, it was just taunting, And the police department, his friends were throwing shade online. There was random women in his life that would try to buy stuff from me on Marketplace. He had control of everybody around him, and he knew everything that I was doing.
Right.
And so we're going to court. My attorney demolishes him in court.
In court, you were there for custody or
just custody.
It wasn't to
when I
press
did
charges or
go to
anything.
file charges. I did go try to press charges on Sean, and the deputy at or the sheriff in Laurel told me that he didn't think that it was necessary, that my video evidence is illegal for me to have in a courtroom. That just because somebody breaks up with you and has a new partner doesn't mean they abused you, essentially.
So he was never charged for any of this.
I was a spiteful baby mama in everybody's eyes. And I had to work past that. That fucking hurts. When you've gone through so much trauma and abuse and have seen your son go through these type of things and nobody wants to even listen to your story. I word vomited to everybody.
Right.
I wanted somebody to fucking hear me and how dangerous this man was. And nobody. So I stopped.
Right.
Nobody wanted to hear it. I swallowed that shit and I moved on.
Right.
And that's when about 7 months later, there's a post on Facebook classifieds, Billings classifieds, of a girl with Sean's picture. And it said something about him ripping her off for a bunk bed or something like that. I don't know, some weird shit. I'm like, somebody tag me in it. Please do not tag me in your fucking post. I have no affiliation with this man. I have been stalked, harassed, beaten. Do not affiliate me with this man. So then I see a post about Sean shortly after this. This girl said that she adopted a kitten to him. And the comments just started flooding. He adopted 3 of my cats. He adopted 2 of my cats. He adopted my dog. I saw him in this neighborhood. This and that. And what I'm thinking, because I've Googled this man, I've researched this man, I've seen who this man is that I never knew. He had a daughter. He had to sign his rights away. That was his daughter, and he knew it because of the abuse. Oh, sorry. Are you good?
No, you're okay.
He had shot a girl in Great Falls and walked on all charges. He shot her in the leg, and she did not testify in court. So I knew I had to fucking win my son. Fuck that. I'm gonna tell the judge everything. I don't care if you have charges or not. This is bullshit. He has walked on everything, and when I saw this story, it was going to be drama. It was going to be chit chat between everybody in the community, and then it was going to disappear.
Right.
That's what always happens to him. There's never consequences for Sean. There's never been consequences for him. And then I saw a post about a animal that was found kind of by one of his friend's house, like farm, that was on a rope, drugged behind a truck, and mutilated. And I knew it was Sean because of the post before. And I just thought to myself, this can't just be something that people are going to blow over.
Right.
This community is beginning to be outraged because they are finding dead animals and mutilated animals, decapitated animals. So I get a call from an investigator with Billings Police Department, and she asked me to testify in court and give her information on Sean. And I told her no. Unless you can guarantee that Sean will be going away, not for a year, not for 2 years, that Sean will go away for a long time, I will not testify in court because I will not be on his radar.
Right. Right. You didn't want to put a target on your head.
I didn't want my son to. So she made a commitment to me that there was multiple cases that they were investigating with Sean, and she asked me to come down to the station. I told her about my abuse and what I saw with animals because he had hurt one of my dogs in front of his mother. And I told her what our relationship was like and what had happened. And she pulled out a picture of a decapitated animal that was brutally mutilated. She's like, it had a child's toy tied around its body. She was like, if you can tell me that that's one of your son's toys, we could put an arrest warrant right now. I didn't know where it came from. I grabbed all of her own stuff, And shortly after I talked to this investigator, his house was raided. I actually saw a picture on Marketplace of a truck that was suspicious about taking animals. And I realized when I saw this truck, because I had already been asked about this truck, but I didn't, they said a green truck. And I saw a picture of it and I'm like, holy fuck, that is Sean's stepdad's truck. It was a very distinct, short, older truck with a green stripe in it. And I called the investigator. I'm like, that is his dad's truck. So it wasn't like an Amber Alert, but it went through everybody's phones, and he got, there was a flash grenade thrown in his house. They found.
You want to play the clip really quick?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that. So this is the full news clip here. Oh, hold on, guys. Gotta unmute it.
Exacerbates the situation if you are actually saying that you.
1 second here, guys.
Is the big story.
Good evening, I'm Jason Berger, in for Greg Lamont tonight. A suspected cat killer from Laurel was in court today, and Dominic Delfidio is following this story. He joins us in the studio tonight with the latest. Dom, what can you tell us?
Jason, bond is set at $100,000 for a Laurel man accused of stealing, mutilating, and killing cats. Sean Robinson appeared by video in Yellowstone County District Court Friday morning on 2 charges of felony aggravated animal abuse and theft. He's accused of stealing, strangling, and decapitating cats. Senior Deputy County Attorney Ingrid Rosenquist says additional charges are coming after a search warrant was executed on his vehicle.
There will be more charges forthcoming. A search warrant was executed on his vehicle last night, and bodies of cats were found in it, as well as more instruments suspected in the mutilation and torture of them.
How many more cats were found?
That process is ongoing. We believe the information I had was 1 or 2 with possible parts of others. So we haven't fully.
And I just want to say that is like a really nice way of them saying they were having to piece these animals together. They were having to piece them together to charge him with a whole animal.
Finish the investigation of that car yet.
Judge Ashley Harada set the $100,000 bond and added provisions that Robinson must submit to GPS monitoring. Robinson is also ordered to have no contact with any animal of his kind or any kind, including his own dog.
I am going to set bond in the amount of $100,000, and these are serious cases, sir. And the information you've been providing over the jail telephone only exacerbates the situation if you are actually saying that you had to do this instead of hurting humans. I'm very concerned.
If convicted, Robinson would serve a maximum of 2 years in jail and a fine not to exceed $2,500. Jason?
I don't know if anybody else is just ticked off about that, but 2 years? 2 years? And what sucks is like I have been so frustrated from the time I've known Dee and this situation that like why did it take this for someone to listen, right? Like, why did all these animals have to get hurt? The Laurel PD could have stopped this all so much sooner, but you're dramatic, right? I wish, guys, we don't remember. We'd have to like actually kind of deep dive and request records to find out. We don't know who the officer was, but that told Dee that, you know, oh, you can't press these, basically told her she can't press charges. That seems illegal to me in some sense. Galen said, I'm a veterinarian, and my last year in college, I wrote a paper that was the risk of animals getting abused as the woman or the person abused left. It was eventually published in a veterinary magazine. I never really thought about that correlation, but it makes complete sense. And kind of like Dee said, it was an escalation when he couldn't control her anymore and he couldn't unalive her. He had to unalive other things. And he tried. He tried. What do you think he was sitting outside that? Or, you know, why do you think she looked up and saw him at the Walmart? Why do you think he was tracking her car to bring her flowers? You know what I mean? That's not what it was. And there's a very real possibility that without the grace of God, that she wouldn't be here. And that's just not okay. That's not okay. People shouldn't have to be victimized like this and have to go through these things to get the support and help that they need and that they deserve, because nobody deserves this. Jellycat says that's how serial killers start. I completely agree. I mean,
after this happened, I watched the Netflix documentary Don't Fuck with Cats. If you guys have ever seen that. Oh, dude, that shit is sick. If you guys have ever seen that, it is. Those are serial killer tendencies, and that is why I say there's no going back. Once you're to a point, I believe that abusers can get help and make right and find God, their spirituality, things like that. But when you're so rewired like this and you have this is a sociopath. This is not just a narcissist. This is a full-blown narcissistic sociopath. There's not, and I do hurt for him. I hurt for baby Sean. I don't hurt for who he is now. He doesn't deserve that from me. After
right.
he's hurt so many things in his life. And dude, I don't understand how you could, one, hurt an animal, but two, mutilate it. There's something that's not connecting correctly in your brain to be able to sit there and solder through an animal. And the dog that they were referring to in his court video is the dog that he slit its throat and hid the body, and it was his friend's dog that he adopted. His friend texted me with all the receipts and what he told his friend happened to the dog. He claimed that the dog tried to attack him. It's just really sick.
Les said, my story about abuse is not as awful as this, but so many things in common in the way that they behave. Absolutely. And this is the thing, is that it's never a trauma contest, you know, and me and Dee have talked about this.
Pain.
Yes, me and Dee have talked about this many times because like I said, I never had a spouse that physically abused me like that. I haven't. I've been through a lot more of the emotional abuse side of that. And her and I still have so many things in common that we talk about with that. And the worst thing that's ever happened to me and the worst thing that's ever happened to you could feel very similarly because it comes from a place of hurt and trauma. It's not about, you know, just because it's worse doesn't mean that the impact on you is any less, I guess, is what I'm saying. Just because the trauma wasn't as bad doesn't mean that it was less impactful on you and your emotional and mental health.
Well, and even like during when I would watch certain things, you know, we watched the Gabby Petito. It was Gabby Petito? I watched hers and
Yes.
she didn't make it out of her relationship. And it made me so angry because at the end, the letter he wrote was still selfish and hurting for himself. And he blamed her murder on her tripping and falling and hurting herself. And he unalived her because he was doing the godly thing. They have no fucking mercy. Even taking it to your grave, they can't admit it. Taking it to the grave, they can't admit it. And watching, I watched My Crazy Ex. I don't know why I watch all this stuff because it's very hard for me to watch. And I sat there and said, well, it wasn't so bad, you know? But everybody has, if you do have a story like this or have been through traumatic relationships, your pain is real and we hear it. It does not matter if you got the same amount of physical abuse or the same traumatic ending. Like, your pain is so real, and we're here to hear you and educate people on what this can look like, what it looks like from outside, inside, all of it, like, to protect everybody and stop and break the fucking cycles that repeat themselves.
Yeah.
Can we play
Yeah.
can we play Jerry Lynn?
Yeah. Wait, what? Oh, yes. Do you have it where you want it?
No, here, let me
Yeah.
what one is I gotta
So-
play around with this just for a second.
Okay. The reason,
Oh,
so
I
it's gonna play. Oh, hold on.
actually
sorry.
was going to
You're
call
okay.
you
There we
or try to contact you to ask your forgiveness.
So a little bit of context. This video came
So
about
the
while
reason why
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You tell it.
That's okay. I basically, this is to show what enablers look like too. The enabler around that these abusers are just as sick as they are. And this is the start of my healing journey with this. So I am very emotional in this video. But this is basically to show what the enablers around them look like, talk like, protect them, and still will protect them when they have every fucking proof in the book of how they should handle the situation, and they won't admit it. She did not show up in court for him because she knew she could not sit there and she would get caught in lies. I had too much evidence against her. She watched my abuse multiple times.
Absolutely. And I just want to tell everybody too, in this video, in this clip we're about to play, you don't see her face or anything. This is Sean's mother. And but it sounds right. If you listen to it without knowing the full context, it sounds like she's real sorry, right? It sounds like she well, really it doesn't sound like she's sorry in my opinion, but I just want to remind everybody that in this throughout this whole clip, there's no tears in her eyes. It's all an act. Okay. None of this is her being genuine. These people learn it from somewhere, you know, how they emotionally handle themselves. Are we ready?
Yeah, I think it's around this part.
And your fucking crocodile tears and Sean's and your fucking daughter Nikki, all of them don't fucking matter anymore. Cause he's gonna fucking go away and I can't wait to fucking see you go away for life. You didn't give a fuck about my son, your grandchild. You didn't give a fuck about Kenna, your grandchild.
I didn't know.
You didn't know. How did you not know? Time time and time again it happens, and wait till it's fucking somebody else. Instead of animals. What if it would have been me? What if it would have been me fucking dead in a basement, or your fucking grandchild?
Do you remember when I didn't see what he did to Alfie? I heard the noise and I turned and
You
looked,
were
and I
there.
knew
He
that
started kicking Alfie in the kennel and strangling him. You heard it. I called you when I was barricading myself in a basement, Jerry Lynn.
I don't mean to corner you. I'm sorry.
How do you not know your son's like that? He shot a girl in Great Falls. Nobody ever told me that. Plus cousin daughter. Nobody fucking ever told me that. He said his rights over because he was nervous. There were multiple times that I fucking cried for help for you, and I thought I was not gonna fucking wake up from that fucking man. And you protected him, and you keep protecting him. You do. And then you told Sadie that I was crazy.
I didn't
Yes,
tell her.
you did.
I didn't.
Yes, you did. Why would she lie about that? That's my girl. That night, I called the cops on Shaw a long time ago.
I told you to call him.
You said, please don't call the cops.
I did
Yes,
not.
you did.
Never.
Yes, you did. You did. All you are is about protecting some narcissistic sociopath. But you created that. You realize that? You created that.
I guess there's... I actually was going to call you or try to contact you to ask forgiveness or not. I honestly didn't know.
How do you not know? It's happened thousands of times. You just gotta Google him. And as a mother, as you know the history he's been in and done it all, sent from jail, went and picked him up, all that fucking shit, you've been there, Jerry Lynn. You guys have a fucking twisted ass relationship. And just admit it. No, but that's your son, you want to protect him, right? You know.
I don't want to protect him if he's doing that to you.
So why did you take Joe in?
Take Joe?
Yeah, the dog. Why did Sean give you Joe?
He said it.
Because he beat the fuck out of Joe all the time? Yeah. So you knew that. You knew that much. Because Sean couldn't control his temper.
I did know.
Oh.
Can we just go into this one really quickly?
Yeah.
Because this is... Hold on.
I told Scott and I just talked the other day that I don't...
His house has been on the market. He totaled his truck. He's been to jail 3 times for PFMA. Got a restraining order for and it's all over social media. I have to hear about every motherfucking day about him fucking hurting animals and him fucking slitting Chris's sister's dog's throat in the fucking garage. Chris Garrison adopted his sister's dog and fucking slit his throat in the garage.
What?
I just hope you stop defending him. Because next time, it's not going to be an animal. And hopefully they don't find bodies. Jerry Lynn.
Is this the one that I made?
What?
Sorry, I
What?
lost. Is this the one that I just played?
Yeah. No. It's not. But
I started the other one.
yeah.
Because I've had to fucking wake up every hour of the night and make sure my fucking son is okay for the last fucking year. You have no idea what I fucking went through with him because I think you have a pretty good idea. I think you do.
I didn't know he put his hands on you after that time over there. I watched you come out of there. And I told Sean you weren't lying. I said it to his face. Scott and I were just talking the other day. And I said, I never talked bad about you. I am not calling Sadie a liar. I think she misunderstood me. I don't think you're crazy. I have never thought you're crazy. I have always respected you and I've always loved you. And I'm sorry that I failed you. I know you won't forgive me, but I'm sorry that I did. I Scott and I talked the other day. No, I just mean in general. Him and Austin both. I don't.
Oh, I skipped that
We
part.
weren't there. We weren't in the room, and you may be 100% justified in leaving and taking your baby. I know he has a temper.
You may be.
You were in that room. Are you talking about the Alfie thing?
No. No, I just mean in general. Him and Austin both. I don't blame either one of you girls leaving. I think you did the right thing.
I'll be right back, Dee.
Do you remember? Was probably
So I'm going to cut that off right there. But I mean, it's the apologetic. But if you catch little things in that video of, you may be justified. In general, I didn't remember, or I did, and it was deny until I have exactly what I'm talking about, exactly when you were there in your face. And then she wants to give me a little bit of credit, but she wants to bring it back. And I think that I showed you guys this video because this was part of my healing journey. This was the beginning of my healing journey. I was going to tell who hurt me, why they hurt me, why you hurt your son, how this all transpired. And there's so many things I could get into with that. I know we're at 2.5 hours, so I won't today. But yeah, this is one of my biggest steps that I took. I got the courage. I dropped my son off at school and I drove straight to her house by myself. And I recorded a video for my evidence to almost contain myself too, because as much as I wanted to, I was not going to be what I suffered from for so many years either. I wasn't going to let them control me. I wasn't going to let them take me out of my character. I wasn't going to let them bring an ugly side out, but I wanted evidence, and I wanted to tell them, you will burn too. If you don't get this karma on this earth, you will get it in afterlife. And I do believe that, because there's no way you could walk around
Oh, I think you might have froze again, Dee. Oh, there you
Sorry,
are.
go
You
ahead.
froze for a sec.
I know you're freezing too.
Oh.
But yeah, that was
Yeah.
why I played that video for you guys.
And two, like, you know, the whole point, and I think that Dee just touched on this in telling this story today, isn't for anyone to feel bad or to it's about bringing light to these situations, because that same guy at the beginning of the video singing to her is the same man that did this, the same man that wooed her, that love bomb her, that all these things. And we just want to be able to bring light and help to these people who may be stuck in these situations. If anybody's watching who needs help getting out of a situation, even if it's not as bad as this, email us and we will do our very best to help find you guys resources in your area. Domestic violence is real. It happens to, I think, like 1 in 3 women. And it's terrifying. It takes pieces of you you'll never get back.
And men.
And it's real. And men, women and men. Yes. We're just women, so it's easier to think about. I think, but yes, absolutely. We would love to be able to help in any way that we can. So we really appreciate everybody coming out today and listening to this story. We appreciate everybody that's going to be in on the replay crew. And if you know somebody that is experiencing domestic violence, or you yourself are, we've left this banner up in here. There's a number you can call, 775-221-7600. Or you can text SASS to 839-863 for free confidential support. So we just want everyone to know that there are resources out there and that you deserve more. You deserve more than the crappy way that people may be treating you.
And I hope you guys, we appreciate all the love and support that you guys come on here. We appreciate you sharing your stories. Keep sharing. Make sure you subscribe to us, because our main goal is to open up shelters for men, women, children, and animals. This is our main goal with this podcast. We want to be able to give back to other people and give them a sense of freedom when they don't feel like they can get out of these type of situations.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also, Dee, I just want to thank you for being willing to share this experience, because I know it's hard. It's a hard place to go mentally. It's a hard thing for you to talk about. And it's hard to be vulnerable with the entire internet to share this story. So I appreciate you, because, you know, it's really hard. But I do believe that your story can help so many people. I think that even like you know, the one comment that the abuse wasn't as bad. Like we said, your abuse doesn't have to be to this point to ask for help. That's the goal, is to be able to help people before it gets there. So I just want to thank you so much for being willing to be vulnerable and open, and just for being you, because you're beautiful and you deserve so much more. And I know that you know that now, but you know, I love you so much.
Love you too. And thank you for everybody that jumped on here and showed support and love and shared their stories. Once again, I really do appreciate it, and appreciate all you guys so much.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Until the next episode, we
Okay,
will
love
see
you
you next
guys.
time.
Thank you.
Oh, let's